All right. Hey, everybody. We are live, and I'm here with my friends Will Louie over here, all the
What
way
is up?
from Sacramento, California. And then we've got the Patels right over here from the Atlanta area, if I'm correct, right?
That's it.
right.
That's fantastic. So we're going to have a great time today talking about a lot of things, including how to work with influencers. So we're going to give you guys a couple minutes to get here and join us so that you can hear all about this. If you get here late, you can always play this on demand, so don't worry about that at all. But the biggest things we would love from everybody watching is if you have any questions for the Patels at all, just drop it in the chat and we will see how many we can work through. So as we always do, just to give everybody time to get here, we're going to talk about the weather because that's what we love to talk about. So Will, what's the weather like in Sacramento?
It is beautiful today. It is 70. Well, actually, I have it on my clock too. It's 71 right now. So it's sunny. It's been really nice these last few days. So we're excited.
That's great.
How about you in Tulsa?
It is 61 and just a little bit overcast. So it's nice. It's nice. I like it. And what's it like in Atlanta today?
Pretty much the same as Tulsa, 60, slightly overcast. There was like a big storm that came through the last day or so. So
Glad that's over.
Yeah, a lot of wind.
Right. Will, who do we see in the chat already? We got about a dozen people here already. We got some people saying hi.
I see Jessica's here. Good morning, Jessica. A couple Facebook users. We don't know who you are if you didn't give StreamYard permission, but hey, welcome. Exciting A is here that says hello.
That's great. Awesome. And let us know where you guys are watching from. Great. I'm sorry. I just got distracted because I looked out my window and of course my UPS driver just arrived. So
Hope we have something cool.
This is great. All right. Well, let's get started here. Why don't I'm going to switch this around so we don't have to see my big head. We don't need to see me as much. So first of all, I don't want to assume that everybody knows who you guys are. So would you just take a couple minutes and introduce yourselves and kind of tell what you do? And we'll jump in and ask some questions, but kind of give everybody an introduction to the Patels and your company.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So we are Anuj and Sumita Patel. We're from Atlanta, Georgia. If you're from the Atlanta area, more specifically, we're in a northern suburb called Alpharetta. We started this business in 2020, like so many of us. We were initially not in the laser business. We were doing hand stamped books and you get the project you guys now and we're just waiting for Will to tell us what we do next. But we love the industry crafters and kind of showing them what worked for us and what didn't work for us. So we spent about half our time doing that.
Well, if I could cut in for just a second, we're kind of losing you guys. You're breaking up for just a second. So maybe let's do this.
Breaking up really badly.
Yep.
I wonder if there's.
So if you guys could do something for us, Will and I will talk for just a minute here. If you guys could maybe bounce out and come back and see if that helps a little bit, that would be great. So see if you can maybe do that, and Will and I will talk for just a minute. Yeah, right. I know.
I'm not used to being the star of the show there. I think we need to even this one out a little bit.
Let me see if we can do that.
There we go.
There we go. Nice.
There we go.
We'll work on that. We'll definitely get them back in here because they got some great stuff to share. I'm really looking forward to hearing from them. And by the way, Will, tell everybody about the fact why we have them on here to begin with, besides the fact that they're great people. Guys, we'll get them back in here in just a second. Why do we have the Patels on here?
Yeah, so we're really excited to share what they do with everyone because they're going to be speakers at the Next Level Laser Conference in June in Tulsa, Oklahoma. We're really definitely excited about that. They're a wealth of information. I've seen them speak numerous times, and the information that they can share with us small business owners is invaluable if you're looking at ways to get your name out there and get your products out there. So they're going to be speaking at the Next Level Laser Conference, June 28th through June 30th in Tulsa. If you don't have tickets, the nextlevellaserconference.com.
Right there.
We'd love to see you guys there. We're going to be highlighting all of our speakers and the amazing vendors we have there. So we thought, what better way to introduce you guys to who you'll be meeting and who you'll be learning from
Yes.
than having them here on our Facebook Lives as well.
Absolutely.
So
they're back here. So let's get them back in here and get rid of your big head if we can. Let's see what we can do here. Hey, that's not it.
Wow.
That's even worse. Who's driving this thing? That is just terrible. We'll try one more and we'll do this. Perfect.
boom.
Welcome back. So I'm sorry about the tech guys there. So the last thing that I heard clearly was you talked about when you started. Could you just pick up with the stamped books? Could you start there for us?
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm so sorry about that, guys.
Yeah.
So, yep, we started in 2020. We were doing hand-stamped books. That started on our kitchen counter with $50 and a trip to Michael's. And, 4 years later, we have the privilege now of having 4 lasers. We have a 2,000 square foot warehouse. We have a UV printer as of recently.
Yes.
So we're just excited about making all of the things. And I was joking that we're basically just waiting for Will to tell us what we need next, what piece of equipment. But no, we're really excited. And then we spend the other half of our time mentoring other crafters. So we love sharing our experience and our journey, what worked, what didn't work, what helped us be successful. So we're really passionate about sharing that information with everyone.
That's great. In fact, I see at least one person wants to hear more about UV printers. So I know whether it's today or some other time for sure. These guys definitely know more than I do. That's which doesn't take much, but it's really great. So Will, do you want to? I put you on the spot here. Before we get into the deep stuff, do you want to like rapid fire some of the questions we've done with other people just for kicks? Can you do those from memory?
Yeah, I can do some of
These
those.
will be fun. These
Now,
are not
both of you.
Yeah.
These are just fun questions. So for both, what were your first cars?
Ooh, my first car was a 2-door Acura RSX way back in the day. I loved the car. When I got married, someone made me get rid of it. She was like, "You don't need a 2-door sports car. Get rid of that." I was like, "Okay."
It looked like a go-kart, I thought.
They're nice. I had a 2-door 300ZX, and that went away too. So
it happens. I think I had an SUV, an Infiniti QX4 or something. They don't even make them anymore. It was like an older car, but yeah, that's what I learned how to drive in.
Great.
All right. So out of the two of you, who's more patient?
Anuj.
Oh,
I'm doing the question ones now, the couple ones. We've never had a couple on, so I thought if we're gonna do this, we're gonna go deep.
I feel like we're like at
Bring
a
it
bridal
on.
Yeah.
hold up a shoe or something.
Exactly.
No, definitely Anuj. He's very patient.
That's great.
All right. Breakfast foods or dinner foods?
Oh,
If you had to choose one.
breakfast.
I'm more dinner. You love a good brunch.
Yeah. I like breakfast.
Great.
Okay. Yeah. Cereal, eggs, bacon. There we go.
All of it.
Good. First jobs.
I worked as a tutor at Sylvan Learning Center. It's just such a typical Indian thing to do, but had to try to use my brain. So I was a tutor.
Yeah.
So growing up, my dad had a convenience store, a gas station. So I was working there, working for him for a long time. So first job.
Nice.
All right. Last one. You guys were just in ISA in Florida, correct?
Yep.
If you guys could pick one piece of machinery, the next piece that you just saw that you could buy, money's no object. What are you getting?
They had this massive, it's basically a very jumbo size CNC machine so that you can carve out, different lettering and then use that for signage. I think I would buy that because that's something we can't do right now, on that level, but that was pretty fascinating.
I wasn't there. Sumita was, but I was kind of getting a behind the scenes look. And I think you sent me that video of that CNC machine. That looked, we don't have the space for that, but that looked really nice.
That's awesome.
One can dream.
Yeah, that's great.
Just say yes and figure it out. You don't have the space, you don't have the money,
Yep.
just buy it and figure it out. Have I
That
not
is
taught you guys
great
anything
advice.
over the
Yeah.
years?
Your voice was in my head there for sure.
Definitely. That's why I didn't go. Or like you said before we got on the air, was I would be broke,
Yep.
Is that like
more
the two,
broke.
are me and Will like the two angels? Are the angel and the devil? Like Will's like, buy it, and Mark's like, no, think about it.
Yeah.
One on each shoulder.
That's right. That's fantastic. So you guys are so great at so many things. But one of the things that you are coming to our conference to talk about is how to work with influencers. And I'd love, I think that most of our audience, not all of them, but most of them have not ventured into that yet, but they've thought about it. And so we're excited about learning how to do more of that. You guys are going to give us some tips and tricks on what to look out for and what your journey's been like. And of course, we won't cover all of it right now, but I've got a couple questions for you. Let's start with this one. Why did you originally reach out to influencers? What made you start? Kind of tell us how that went.
Yeah. So when we first started our business, even prior to getting into laser, right, when we just had the hand stamped books, we kind of started the business on a whim because we saw that there was a lot of potential in our local market. And we were killing it locally, right? We were meeting people in the Whole Foods parking lot, and people were lining up to pick up their orders.
That's
We
great.
had so much great business coming in locally that it made us realize, wait, there's a lot more potential. We're not limited to just our local, suburban market, right? So then we, did what most people do. We started an Instagram and a Facebook page to try to get the word out nationally, but we quickly realized that it was kind of crickets on our page, right? We can post all the content we want, but we need to drive people to our page. And in order to do so, you really, the only option at that time was to spend money on a paid ad. And as a new business, we did not have a marketing budget, right? We didn't want to spend a whole lot of money. So we're like, how do we get the word out there without spending the least amount of money? And so I realized quickly by just following influencers that they were constantly sharing other products. It could be the outfit that they're wearing or, the tumbler that they're drinking out of. So we thought, why can't they just share our product?
Yeah.
So, we reached out to an influencer and then we quickly realized that, hey, they may have 10,000 followers or they may have 1 million followers, but that's more followers than we have. And it's getting it in front of people that probably wouldn't have known about our business unless we spent a lot of money on an ad. So that was kind of our mindset going into it.
No.
How did you, do you remember, you don't have to tell us who it was, of course, but do you remember who it was, the first one?
We do. So it was a local blogger, and at that time she was, living in Atlanta, and she had 80,000 followers. And to us, I mean, we thought,
Yep.
oh my gosh, that's massive,
Mhm.
right? And she was very generous, and she posted about us. Now she has 4 years later, she has 1.5 million followers. So we have seen her growth, and she has helped us grow tremendously. We use the same strategies with her, that we did when she had 80,000 and now she has 1.5. But it's been really cool watching the industry grow because just like ours is growing, the influencer industry is booming.
Wow. Wow.
Maybe you're the reason that she jumped to 1.5. She should be on there saying,
You're
they
right.
helped me grow my following. What's going on here?
You're so right.
There you go. Yeah, let's pat yourselves on the back a little. You
Yeah.
guys took her from 80,000 to 1.5 million. Great job. So a question we get a lot with people who are thinking of working with influencers: can everyone benefit from working with influencers?
Yeah.
What are some of your
Absolutely.
thoughts on that?
I think it's available for anyone. I mean, I think there's so much opportunity and, an influencer, there's so many different types. Some of them are very focused on cooking. Some of them maybe be on athletes or fitness or just an everyday lifestyle or a crafting influencer. So I think there's definitely an opportunity that anybody can benefit from. It's just a matter of finding out who kind of resonates with the products you're selling or you're creating. Who do you want to push it to? Do you feel like they would be a good fit for their audience? But I think anybody can benefit from it. I think there's definitely some trial and error. I think there is, we'll probably talk about this later, but for every time you send out a package to an influencer, you may or may not hear back. But I think there's definitely an opportunity for anybody to work with an influencer for sure.
In fact, you just said something that made me kind of want to follow up on that. When you look for influencers, are you, my brain has to take a couple jumps to get there. Like I first go, oh, I need to work with somebody who does laser stuff. Well, that's not the case. But how do you start to determine who you work with, and not specifically what their names are, but
Sure.
what industry they're in, and
Yeah.
how do you think about all that?
So yeah, I mean, there's a lot that goes into it, but at the same time, there's also not a lot, right? You just want to find someone who has a target market that is going to identify with your product. So if you're selling mainly baby items, you probably don't want to, work with an influencer who has grown children, because they, are not going to identify with your product, and neither are their followers. The people that are following them for a reason. There's so many influencers now that are available, to people on social media, that people are actually very picky about who they follow. They really need to have that connection with that person. That person needs to be posting things that are relevant to their life. So me, for example, as a newer mom, I like following other newer moms and, seeing what they're doing. How are they living their life? What are they wearing? What are they buying for their children? So if I send an influencer a product like a silicone lunchbox, that's going to be a good, partnership for me, because more than likely her followers are also going to resonate with that product. So you want to find someone who has a target market that you are trying to identify with.
Oh, that's so good. I mean, every time you guys say anything, I get 10 more questions, right? Which is great. I won't do that. But as you guys are watching, if you have any questions for them, drop them in the chat. We'll get to as many as we can. We'll do what we can. And this is going to be great because they're going to be at the conference speaking, but they're going to be around the whole weekend. So if you're there, ask them. They're not planning on sleeping, so no big deal.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Now, of course, the answers you get on Sunday might be completely different than Friday, depending on how tired they are. I'm only partially kidding.
I'm sure Will's going to have a good coffee station for us.
We used to, I talk about we all talk about past jobs we've had. For me, working at a church for a long time, when we'd have 3 or 4 services throughout a weekend, people would say, "Wow, I like the first one because it's super raw." And then by the time I realized I should not say that again, it gets
Right.
all nice and polished, by the third one.
Yeah.
And people's like, "Yeah, I like the first one because he gets in a lot of trouble. He says dumb stuff." Like, oh yeah, for sure.
That's true.
So if I'm thinking about, because I'm sure this is important, you said that everybody could benefit from working with influencers, but I'm assuming you correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Maybe not everybody's ready. How do I know when I'm ready to reach out to an influencer? What are some things I should get in place before I do that?
I think I'm not going to chime in on this. I think before getting into it, I think again working with influencers is a hit or miss. Sometimes you'll get a lot of, sometimes you may not, and it kind of varies on what time they post, when. Is it a story? Is it a post? Is it a reel? What it could be, but I would say if you're thinking about jumping into working with influencers, bank on the fact that you're going to get a lot of orders that come in. Just be ready. Have inventory on ready available. Have the time to do it. Just be prepared, because the last thing you want is you send it to someone and they may post it in a week. It may take a month. It may be 3 months. They're just now getting around to it. You just want to make sure you're ready to go, because if you can get a big hit, those orders will come in. You want to make sure you have everything ready to go. Lasers ready to, polish, aligned. You've got inventory. You've got support if you need it, because it can get fast and furious pretty quickly.
And I'll give you an example. And I think like initially when you're even looking to see if you're ready to work, you want to make sure you're ready to scale your business, right? Because this is a strategy to scale. It's not just a strategy to kind of, grow at a plateau. Like you're doing this and you're investing this energy and time and sending them, your items because you want to scale. But a week or 2 ago, we had an influencer that didn't tell us she was going to post the night lights for kids. And she did. And all of a sudden I looked at our inventory and I was like, oh shoot, we only have like 10. And we actually got like 60 or 70 orders. So I actually texted Will and I was like, I need night lights, but you don't want to be in that, situation. You want to think about it logically. You want to make sure you have the inventory, like Anuj said, and that you have the resources, because as a single business owner, you may not be able to process 60 nightlights on your own unless you extend your turnaround time. So you just want to think logically, can I take this on? Even if it's only 10 orders, those are 10 more orders than you're accustomed to. So are you able to handle it?
You said what my next question was going to be was, do they typically tell you when they're going to do something, or does it just pop out there? Or what's been your experience?
So usually they will, if they may not necessarily tell you the exact date, because again, we're not going under contract, right, with these influencers. We're just a small business. So ideally, when you're sending them the product, you know that within probably 1 to 2 weeks, they are going to post. So that's prior to sending the item out is when we kind of get all of our ducks in a row. We make sure we have the inventory and the resources, and that we're not working on any other major orders in case they post.
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
I know we've talked about that before, Mark, when we've talked about when you're looking to scale your business, you have to be ready to scale, and you have to have products that are scalable, and you have to have the resources. Like Sumita says, if I added 60 orders and I was working on a diode that took me 3 hours to make one, maybe those are probably some of the items that you wouldn't necessarily send to an influencer. That's just not a scalable item. So being aware of what you send that fits the target market, but also that you can fulfill if you do get those big orders.
Yep. That's a great example. The Stanley toppers were so popular when we initially launched that and sent it to influencers. We were doing layered ones, and those were very time consuming. So we actually had to stop. We've never had to do that, but we stopped and had to reformulate, the way that we were doing them, and put a notice out that said, hey, they are no longer layered. These are just single engraved, toppers. But like Will said, it just wasn't conducive to our operations anymore.
It's taking way too long.
And that's exactly what, we told people. It was taking too long. The profit margin wasn't there, and we were getting like hundreds of them in a month, and we had to change something. So we're learning, as we grow as well. But traditionally, before you jump in, just make sure you have the resources.
Will, I know you have another question queued up. I just had one jump to my mind. Today, I know that you guys have been working with influencers for some time, and obviously that's grown and morphed over time as you've gotten good at it. I don't know how to phrase this question exactly. You can just do this in general terms. How much of your business now is somehow connected to influencers? Is it a lot, a little? You don't have to say a number specifically, but just, is it a bunch? Is it a small part?
More than that. I would honestly say about 50% of our business is driven from influencers, because that is the marketing that we rely on, right? Of course, we do our own marketing locally and on our social media, but we rely on them to do the marketing for us. It's our version of a paid ad.
That's great.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Will.
Right. So yes. So like Mark said, to piggyback on that, you guys have been doing this a while. You guys are kind of the vets in it. We look to you guys as the experts. What are some tips for looking for the right influencers to partner with?
I think some of the biggest things is just checking out their page. It's almost like not being detective or kind of nosy, just kind of going through old posts, old stories, looking at comments. Obviously, as social media, there's a lot of bots out there. People buy followers. Are they truly genuine? Are they getting a lot of interaction on their stories, their posts? Do they have legitimate links? They have a good reputation. Those are things to look for that come to mind for me, at least.
Yeah. No, those are all important. Someone can easily have 1 million followers, but then when you go to look at some of their more recent posts, they may only have like 1,000 views on their video, and something, that should be a red flag, because something's not adding up there, right? Out of 1 million followers, you would think at least 20% of the people would see it. So that number should be a lot higher, which goes to what Anuj is saying. They may have bots, and they may have bought a lot of their followers, which would mean that that's not going to benefit you if you're working with them, because no one is going to be there to purchase your items when it's shared. So definitely, just doing your due diligence and making sure that they are as legitimate. Another thing, more recently, is also just kind of looking at their previous posts to see maybe what their political views are, right? Or maybe making sure that they are not talking about something that maybe you don't necessarily agree with, or that your followers may not agree with, because
that you're aligned with, that you're properly aligned with them, whatever that is.
That could be a representation of your business without you even realizing it, right? And then, again, just making sure their content is not very static, just, making sure that it's exciting, and that they're not going to just say, here is a mouse and you should buy it. Like, it should be exciting, and it should be something that they're really encouraging their followers to purchase.
And then also kind of taking a look at like their everyday items. Like if they're constantly posting about a water bottle that they love, does it make sense for you to send them an engraved bottle if they're so attached to that specific brand, they like that? maybe not. Or if they do a post and you just happen to zoom in and you see on their kitchen island, there's an engraved cutting board already. Do you want to send another one, or do you send maybe something that would complement that, like a engraved spatula or a wooden spoon? So kind of different things to look out for in that regard as well.
That's great. I'll jump this next one. I just added another one I think would be really good. So I'll let you do that last one too. Is Anuj, especially you hit this a little bit, but let's just talk about this a little more. Are there any trouble spots to look for? Like maybe warning signs before you choose one, or maybe when you're working with one, you say, "Ooh, that concerns me." Is there anything to kind of watch out for?
There is. So there are actually quite a few influencers. Okay, let me backtrack. There's actually a Reddit page that is dedicated to talking about influencers. And I know that sounds crazy, but it's actually very beneficial when you are trying to do your due diligence on an influencer, because I use that Reddit often, when we're looking to work with a new influencer, I'll type their name in to see what are people saying about them. Are they complaining that, they try to post or advertise too much? Do people actually believe their advertisements, or just what is their general reputation? So that's something that you could definitely use to kind of gauge whether you want to partner with them, because if people are talking about them a lot, that may be a potential trouble spot, right? Obviously we talked about the bots and the fake following, so you definitely want to avoid that. This isn't necessarily a trouble spot, but influencers, this is their career and this is their source of income. So for a lot of them, obviously they will ask you for a monetary compensation. We personally do not monetize that, so we have not given compensation. We more recently did in other ways, but part of our strategy is offering free product, but not necessarily compensation. But you do want to be wary of the ones that say, sure, I'll post for you, I need $5,000 for it right off the bat, without them showcasing what they're going to do for you for that $5,000. So it is completely okay to ask the influencer for their media kit. And ask them, how many views do you normally get? How many interactions do you normally get? How many link, clicks do you get? It's okay to ask them for all that information, because they have it. And it's really their obligation to share that with you before you invest in them.
Yeah, and I think to Samita's point, a lot of these guys will have a team dedicated. So if you message them, they may say, send an email to so-and-so, and it'll be someone on their team that she said will present pricing, PR packages, metrics on what it could be. I think the biggest thing with these influencers, I think that the trend is kind of changing. I think they're starting to realize, because a lot of these big influencers partner with brands like Amazon, Walmart, Abercrombie, and obviously their budgets are a lot bigger than someone with a small business. I'll be honest, we work with influencer, and we got a package and it was $18,000 for a story for 24 hours, one single frame story. I mean, $18,000. We obviously didn't have that a lot in our budget, but I think they're starting to realize, small businesses don't have that. It's almost going to be benefiting them if they give back in a way by, giving a shout out to a small business. I think their following is starting to like that as well. Like, hey, you're not only promoting the bigger brands, but you're also supporting someone small. So I think we're starting to see that trend a little bit more. I think they're becoming more open to, okay, this small business is not going to have a huge budget. Maybe we can work with a little bit smaller budget, or I can just do a free post just to kind of shout them out.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, what's funny is it ties right into a question we were going to ask here, but I think you guys kind of answered. What kind of budget should I consider when working with influencers? But you guys kind of touched on that. It could vary quite a bit. And but you guys have, like you said, you've done mostly non-compensation work with influencers, correct?
Yeah, so our strategy has been to send them complimentary products. So you take the cost of the product, your time to do it, packaging and shipping. That's typically what the kind of approach we've taken. Once in a while, we will offer a kickback. We just set a minimum. It's usually anywhere from 5 or 10%. So whatever sales they bring in, they get a cut of it. Usually kind of just motivates them a bit more. Sometimes we'll also do a discount code for their followers. We'll kind of factor into, our budget as well. If they... their followers use their code and it's 10% off the item. But I wouldn't say set budget. What would you say we typically say that?
So you to kind of piggyback off that, you definitely want to always include a discount code. So when you're partnering with an influencer, you want them to incentivize their following immediately to make that purchase. So like Anuj said, you definitely want to factor that in, right, to your margins. But they're also, we have offered kickbacks, and you can do that if you have an Etsy or if you have a Shopify. You can use that discount code to actually track also the sales that they're bringing in, right? So if my influencer is Will and his discount code is Will10, all I need to do is go back in my Shopify, see how many people use the code, and then I can track. However, there actually is a dedicated platform that influencers use now to have commissionable links. And so we have joined that platform so that they can naturally just earn a commission using, that commissionable link. So we always set it at 10%. We don't go beyond 10%. We found that that's the sweet spot. It's what works for us, usually works for them, gives them a little reason to keep posting. But there are other options, that you can explore as you continue to grow and working with influencers.
I'm going to grab the Starla has a question. I know some of the answer, at least what I would do, but I'll put it up here. Is there a specific app you use with Shopify for the discount codes to track sales? I'll answer it first on my side, and then you guys tell me what you do. I'll give you a chance to think about it too. Is in Shopify, of course, you can use the built-in discount section and make a code that way. There are other apps that you can use as well, but I would say 90% of the time there's not a need for another app for me. In fact, I've been making a lot of codes for various things lately, and I've just been using the built-in one. What do you guys think?
No,
we're the same as you, Mark. We just kind of built it in with Shopify, use their platform to create the code, and then we're just running a report that way and just kind of track, how many people ordered, what was the total, how many people, like that stuff, kind of track the success that way. And that kind of gives us an idea. Okay, this influencer, we spent this much on them, time, labor, materials, all this stuff. Does it make sense? Is it worth it for us? How long did it take us to fulfill all these orders? Things like that. Is it worth partnering with them again in the future? Do we want to wait a couple months, or do we pick out another item we want to send them right away because we had a lot of success with it?
And it's a lot easier, let's say it's close to Christmas time and we're like, okay, it's in our budget, let's send out 20 influencer packages, like PR packages. Yeah, we know off the top of our head, like the top 4 or 5 that always bring in great revenue, but it's really easy then to go into Shopify and see what were my top 20 used discount codes. And great. We can see which influencer that was tied to, and then you just send them out a package. So it's serving you a great purpose as well by creating that code.
And just to piggyback off of Sumita's points, if you're sending out, for example, roughly holidays, you're sending out PR boxes of 20 influencers, transparently don't expect to get 20 posts back. You may get 50% of that. You may get 20% to post. It's not a knock on anything you're doing. Sometimes they get very busy. They get behind. They may just forget about it, or they may just ignore it outright. But we found even if you send out 20, you get 5 to post, you're still going to be in the positive, even though the other 15 are not doing anything with your product.
It's just a numbers game, right? The more people you send it out to. And when you guys strategize, do you tend to use the same influencers multiple times, or are you always looking for new influencers, or how do you guys go about that process?
Yeah, that's a really good question. We do use the same influencers. So we have our, I would say, core number of 10 influencers that are all on the larger scale now. So they probably all have about 750,000 followers or more. So we know that when we send them stuff, we can pretty much count on good sales if they do post about it. But because they are so large, that doesn't mean they will always necessarily post about it, right? It has to work in their schedule. So we have the core 10, but then we're always looking to expand and grow that. So on a monthly basis, I'm probably trying to identify another 5 that we can kind of add to our rotating schedule. That doesn't mean that they will always get a PR package, but it just means that I may test it out by, if we have a new product, I may send it to them, see how they, perform. And if it performs great, then I'll add them to our core.
What is,
I have one other.
Oh, sorry. I just have one that jumped in my head. Let me
I had one jump in my head. I have one.
Right.
Go ahead. Go for it, Mark. I'll write mine down real quick.
He knows I'll lose it if I don't say it right now.
Yes.
ADD.
Yes.
Yep. There it went. Oh, no, I got it. So I know that it varies probably from influencer to influencer, but in general, how do they, so you send them a package or you send them a thing, whatever. In general, how do they present your item when they present it? Like, are they, for example, are they saying, and today's episode was sponsored by Homebound Custom Decor, or are they saying, by the way, I just happened to get this? Like, how do they generally present your items? And I know it must vary, but look like?
Typically, the influencers we target are primarily Instagram. That's the platform we use the most in our business to drive traffic to our site, our Instagram page. So I would say the majority of them are doing either a story, a static story, or some of them are actually picking up the item and talking like, I just received this beautiful item. Has my initials on it from home, and they'll tag our page on there, and then they'll put a commissionable link as there. But I would say probably a story for the most part.
Okay.
A video story always works the best, even if it's as quick as, let me show the tumbler, for example. So if it's our Stanley tumbler, they'll just say, hey, look, I got this really cute topper. Here's the link if you want to buy it. So it may be, 6 or 7 seconds of a story, but it does the job because it caught someone's attention. It has the link. They know where to purchase it.
Perfect.
All right. Before I lose my train of thought too. For someone starting out working with influencers, is the strategy or what you guys started with were you approaching influencers with smaller followings in the beginning, hoping to get in on the ground floor with them? They might be a little more approachable versus looking for the big dogs right off the bat.
Absolutely. It is very tempting to want to go chase, the larger influencers right off the bat. But kind of going back to our initial conversation, it's very important that you realize, do I have the process in place? Do I have the inventory? Can I take this capacity? I'm sorry. And so I think it's great to start smaller. So when we were first starting out, and this is the advice I normally give as well, target people that are in the 100 to 150,000 follower range. Those are people that are not brand new. So they know what they're doing. They know how to post. They know how to be creative. They have an established following. So the algorithm is probably in their favor. But they're not so big that, they're going to be totally closed out to supporting a small business, and they don't have massive, budgets that they expect yet. So definitely starting around 100,000 and then working your way up.
And I think to Sumita's point, I think following is a big thing. When people think of a large influencer, they think they've got to have millions of followers. We work with the influencer. She's got about 300,000 followers. And I would say she brings in just as much sales as one of our larger ones. Yep. So it really is about the engagement as well. So I wouldn't say an influencer is too big or too small. Check out their engagement. They're getting a lot of likes, a lot of views on their stories. They're putting a lot of good content. Their following continues to grow. You look at it 1 month, it's this much, and it keeps growing. I think those are the ones that you want to definitely target and work with.
Yeah.
That's great. I'll grab another one here. Will, we've got several. You're getting a lot of questions now, so we're trying to keep up with them. I think this is a good one. Starla also asked, what do you include in your PR packages?
That is a really good question. So we are very bare bones. We don't have very cute packaging or, a lot of things that would traditionally be in a PR package. Really what it is the item that we want to showcase. That's going to be in there. It probably will obviously be personalized. So let's say we're sending an influencer kids water bottles. So we're obviously going to have done our research, making sure we know their kids' names, we spelled them properly. We're going to include that item in the box, maybe, on top of some tissue paper or bubble wrap. And then really, other than that, it's just a handwritten note. So it's going to, say, thank them for the opportunity, for allowing us to send them something, maybe talking very briefly about the product. I may mention that, it's a spill-proof, laser engraved stainless steel tumbler. And then I will always mention the discount code that they can use. So that way they have that and they don't need to look for it. And then I will include all of our links. So primarily the Instagram link. And I will also let them know that it is a commissionable link. So in case they're on that platform as well, it kind of, triggers in their mind, oh, this is also a monetizing opportunity for me. So they're more likely to post about it. But other than that, that's pretty much it.
That's great.
Keeping it nice and simple.
Keep it nice and simple.
Yeah. I think the handwritten note goes a long way, especially versus something just typed and printed out. Like, we've all seen the Amazon gift notes, I think that goes a long way with them.
Yeah.
On average, how many PR packages are you guys sending out a month?
Right now, just because there's nothing major occurring in this month, maybe like 2 or 3, but I would say, for the rest of the year, as things start to pick up, maybe closer to 5 or 6 a month.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That's great. Wow. And so do you, man, I am I got so many questions for you, but I can't ask them all. So I guess this question is going to be really different from one person to the next, but at any given time, would you say there's an average number of influencers you're working with, like at any given time, or does it just vary? Like maybe you'll have a couple of big ones and a small one, or how does that look on the average from month to month for you?
Yeah, I think kind of going back to that core number that we have, right? We have that core 10 that we know they're always top of mind for me. I personally follow them. So I'm always, kind of creeping and, seeing what they've been up to. So if I hear that, one got pregnant, or they may be considering buying a new house, or that, their child is graduating, those are opportunities that I want to look for, because that means I can send them something, right? If they have a child that's graduating, I want to send them a product to congratulate them in hopes that she's going to post about it. Or if she just got pregnant, I want to send some baby related items. So keeping up with them is definitely important. So for that reason, I'm always looking at 10 to 15 at any given point, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm actively working with them. I may just actually be sending like 4 or 5 packages out a month. So one a week, to kind of keep it easy.
That's great. Yeah, this is excellent. What do you got, Will?
I think we had another question we had up here is, when reaching out to new influencers, how a lot of us always struggle with how do we approach them without seeming like we're just these spammy salespeople?
Yeah.
Well, because I'm not big at all, and I get people hit me all the time in super spammy ways. Like,
yeah, no,
non-personalized. It's just like, hey, promote this.
Exactly. And that is the key to stand out, right? So someone who has 200, 300, even 1 million followers, the number of messages that they're receiving on a daily basis is obviously quite high. So you have to stand out in a way. So my trick usually is trying to identify something that they have posted about and trying to connect with them on that, instead of just saying, hey, I'm Sumita with Homebound and I want to send you some stuff. Where can I send it?
Yeah.
They're probably getting tons of those messages, right? And it's not really showing them what is in it for them. So instead, they may post something about their kids, and I'll connect with them and say, "Oh my gosh, your children are so cute. Reminds me of my little one. I make some personalized children's items. I would love to send you something. Where could I send it to?" And in that matter, you've changed the conversation, and instead of asking them for something, you are telling them, "I want to do something for you." And so it's changing their mindset. They're a lot more open to, receiving something from you. You're not asking them to post. I'm going to make all of my ask when I actually write that handwritten note and send it in the PR package. But at that given moment, I'm not trying to be spammy, and I'm not trying to ask them for anything.
Kind of falls back to that first impression. You want to build that relationship or start that relationship process versus, like you said, just, hey, can you post my product? I'll send you something. Here you go.
Yeah.
Because that's going to go a long way. Because as you start working with them, as you start seeing them post your products, they're going to be more inclined to be like, hey, send me that. Or, yep, now you've got my address. Send me anything you want. And, I may get to it, I may not. But I think that relationship building, your first impression is really what's going to matter. And I think, like you said, if you come off as very salesy, spammy, they're just going to be like, move on.
Yeah.
That's great.
Exactly.
Great. So as we're wrapping up our time here, is there any, you're not prepared for this necessarily, but is there any last little tip that you might want to give people? And then we're going to tell them how to find you again. We'll talk about where to find you as consultants and as coaches. Any other kind of tips you want to drop on us before we kind of wrap it up today?
Definitely don't be afraid to reach out to influencers. I think a lot of times when we are coaching people, that's the number one thing we receive. Like, how do I reach out to them without sounding too spammy? And then, what about if I never hear back? And the reality is, from a lot of these influencers, you probably won't hear back, right? So for every 10 that we send out, we probably only hear back from 2 or 3. So when I'm trying to connect with them via DM on Instagram, I'm only really hearing back from 20 or 30%, but I try to remind myself that I've invested very little into this, right? I've only invested some time in trying to reach out to them. I have not actually put money behind it. So that kind of helps me keep going, because I'm not necessarily having to spend a lot of ad money or product money. I have this, luxury of just sending as many messages and trying to connect with as many people as I can. So I think it's a very low cost strategy that can have really high rewards. So don't be discouraged or, afraid to reach out, because the worst that's happened is they won't, respond, which is okay.
Which is where you are now. So
exactly.
And I think if you are reaching out, definitely keep track of it. Keep track of, who the influencer is, what you sent them, when you sent it to them. And then if you do get a tracking number, just follow up on it. Because like I said, we've had influencers that have posted within a week. I think a couple of years ago, we had one that posted like 6 or 7 months later out of the blue. And we were just like, hold on, where did this come from? We forgot about it. Like, did we send this? Like, how did she get this? Wasn't that? But definitely just keep track of it. That way you kind of know your cadence of, okay, I've been sending it out this many times. This is the, what I've gotten back. Do I need to up my influencer PR box? Do I need to find new ones? Am I getting, I'm not hearing anything back? And you kind of build off of that.
Yeah.
That's great. I have one more question. I'll let Will kind of direct everybody to your website and everything. You mentioned, Anuj, you just said someone will hit you back months later. I was thinking about the tech side because I'm always thinking about, oh, that's a good idea. How do I do that? Like, how do I execute it? And so does that mean that you'll create a code in your case, Shopify or wherever you're doing it? And is it an open-ended code in terms of time? Like it doesn't ever stop being good? Or how do you approach that part?
Yes, that is a good question. All of our codes that we issue to influencers are open-ended and they don't have expiration dates. The only reason we would ever end it is if we want to revoke that partnership, which thankfully we've not had to do yet. But we want that discount code to be out there. And the reason being is because a lot of times they include it on their blog post and those blog posts are permanent, right?
Evergreen.
So,
yeah, right.
Exactly. So when people are, Googling like baby gift or, whatever, that influencer's blog post may come up and our code is there. But for that reason, because it doesn't expire, we do it as our bare minimum, which is 10%. So we're not giving out, an extraordinary amount of discount.
You're not upset if somebody finds the code.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. It's actually the same amount of code that people get on their thank you cards when our, normal orders go out. So we're okay with 10% floating around.
Awesome.
Perfect. Well, so did you guys see right here, homeboundcustomdecor.com? Check out their site. They teach what they've been talking about here with mentoring and coaching calls. I've seen a bunch of people. You guys typically do like an hour coaching call?
Yep, that's right.
Yeah. And I've heard nothing but amazing reviews from people posting in the group saying that it changed their business. So definitely check that out. Come check them out at the Next Level Laser Conference.
We're very excited.
Super excited to be there.
Yes. Yeah, we are pretty excited too.
I know.
So,
it's our first time to Tulsa too.
Oh, it's going to be great. We can't wait to have you. We want to spend time with you. They know I'm trying to figure out a time to get to Atlanta myself because I just want to, good people. I want to associate with good people.
Yes.
So that'll be great. But yeah, if you guys have not gotten your tickets yet and it's something you want to do, nextlevellaserconference.com. We'd love to have you. It's right. Yeah, it's I can't point right.
Somewhere. No.
You got it right.
Yeah, right. But it's June 28th through 30th, and it's Friday through a Sunday. We'd love to have you guys. And these are just a couple of the many great leaders we're going to have there to teach us and to talk to us. And I will tell you, Will's going to agree. I know the Patels will agree as well. All of the content is important. All the content is going to be valuable. But I would say that connection and community, man, it's hard to put anything above that. Because I know for me in the events that we have hosted, but also events I've attended that other people have hosted, the connections that go beyond the event are, I don't know how to put a price tag on that. They're so valuable. Being able to say, not only, hey, I know what they look like, I've seen them in person, and now I can message them or talk to them and we can relate on a whole nother level. Or, hey, holy crap, Mark is taller than I thought he was. Whatever. But it's really great. And the community and the connections are just invaluable. So we can't wait for that. And we're working really hard.
I want to add another something. We're working very hard in this event with a lot of work on it. But another thing I just want to add, because I thought of it, but we're here talking about working with influencers, and if you guys want the coaching calls with the Patels, it's great. But if you look at the information that they shared with us, this can be spread across different platforms, right? If you're looking at talking to small businesses in your neighborhood or building local business, well, maybe you feel like influencers are not your thing at the moment. These same concepts, giving gifts to local small businesses, building relationships, those things work across the board. So if you're looking at ways to grow your business and you want to get more in depth with them, I definitely would sign up with them, talk to them, and these will apply to any of our businesses. These concepts spread across all avenues. So don't think it's just for influencing. They've shown that they can build a local business as well. So yeah, that information is valuable across the board.
Yeah, I'm so
Definitely.
glad you mentioned that because that is absolutely true,
Mhm.
and that's the bones of our business, right? That's how we got started. It was locally and building those connections, and now we're lucky enough to be able to try to build those connections on a national level. But we started, with our local community, and without that support, we definitely wouldn't be here today.
Agreed.
So it's really important.
I love it. That's great. Man, what a pleasure. Thank you guys for taking your time. We know you're busy, but we also know that you guys love the community. So thank you for doing this. It's a great pleasure. If anybody has joined us late, you can watch this 24/7 on demand. So don't worry, you haven't missed anything. It'll be able to be watched anytime you want. You can also comment, even though we're not live after this, and one of us will see it. If it's for the Patels, we'll try to ping them and let them know. But we are all here to serve you. If you can join us at the conference, we would love to have you. But even more than that, let us connect with you in the communities. And if you need the Patels' help, specifically message them, go to their website and get a coaching call. That would be really, really valuable. So we'll let you guys get back to the rest of your day. Will, as always, thank you, my friend. Patels,
Thank
we
you.
love you guys. We can't wait to see you in person. If not before then, we'll see you in June. So
Sounds
Sounds
good.
good.
Thank you so
We
much for
appreciate
having
it.
us.
Yeah, this is
everybody
good.
have a great time the rest of your day. You guys stick around. The rest of you guys, we'll see you in the groups. Have a great one. See you
Bye.
Bye,
later.
guys.
See you in the dunk tank.